A warning to our viewers. What you are about to watch is a true story. The following program contains content that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
This is what their love looked like on social media.
God, I never loved one like you.
The picture-perfect story where Phoenix Spencer Horn talked about finding her soulmate in Postman Ewan Methven. A 2-year relationship that ended in evil here at their flat on the outskirts of Glasgow. He stabbed his 21-year-old girlfriend 20 times using 3 knives, mutilating her naked body, beheading her. She wasn't found for days.
When police officers forced entry into a top-floor flat on Glen that afternoon, they were prepared for the worst. The 999 call had been chilling enough. A man's voice, unsettlingly calm, confessing to murder, claiming he'd blacked out during what he called a psychotic episode. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared those responding officers for what awaited them inside that ordinary-looking apartment. Covered beneath a towel in the narrow hallway, they discovered the mutilated remains of 21-year-old Phoenix Spencer Horn. Decapitated, dismembered. Her body discarded like refuse by the one person in this world she trusted most. The man she'd called her soulmate, the man her family had welcomed into their lives with open arms. 2 blood-stained knives lay beside her. A third, still dripping, waited in the bathroom. But here's what makes this case even more disturbing. For 2 entire days before that call, her killer had walked free driving her car, using her phone, texting her mother, pretending Phoenix was still alive. And in those 48 hours, he'd searched for pornography 170 times on her device while her body lay lifeless mere feet away. This is the disturbing story of a relationship that ended in unimaginable violence. A trusted partner who became a monster, and a young woman whose bright future was extinguished in the cruelest way imaginable. Before we continue again, I need to warn you. What you're about to hear is a real crime that resulted in the brutal death of a real person. Some viewers may find this content deeply disturbing. Viewer discretion is, once again, strongly advised. Welcome to the Shadow Files crime series. Tonight we venture into a nightmare so evil, it defies comprehension. Take a moment to hit subscribe, drop a like, and please let us know where you're watching from. And now, we begin. Because she wasn't just a victim, she wasn't just a statistic in the horrifying toll of domestic violence. She was a daughter, a friend, a light in the lives of everyone who knew her, and her story begins long before that terrible night. Phoenix Spencer Horn was born in Scotland to her mother, Alison Spencer, and raised in a close-knit, loving family that would describe her as nothing less than the sunshine of their lives. Her name wasn't chosen randomly. Phoenix, a mythical bird that rises from its own ashes, symbolizing rebirth, resilience, and strength. Her parents chose that name with intention, with hope, with dreams for the kind of person their daughter would become. And Phoenix lived up to that name in every possible way. From the earliest age, she was the helper, the caregiver, the child who noticed when someone was struggling and immediately rushed to make it better. Family members recall a little girl who couldn't stand to see anyone left out or hurting. If there was a scraped knee, Phoenix was there with a bandage. If someone was sitting alone, she was pulling up a chair beside them. Her relationship with her mother, Alison, was particularly special. They weren't just mother and daughter, they were best friends. They talked every single day, shared everything, laughed together, made plans together. The kind of bond that some people spend their whole lives searching for, Phoenix and Alison had naturally, effortlessly. Those who knew Phoenix described her smile as infectious, the kind that didn't just light up her own face but somehow managed to brighten entire rooms. She had this gift, this rare ability to make people feel seen, valued, important. As Phoenix moved through her teenage years, that essential kindness only deepened. She attended local secondary school where she became known not for seeking popularity or status, but for her genuine empathy. She accepted everyone, never judged, saw the good in people even when others couldn't. Friends would later say, Phoenix would give you the shirt off her back. And they meant it literally. If you needed something and Phoenix had it, it was yours. No questions asked. It was during these formative years that Phoenix discovered her passion for hospitality work. It made perfect sense. She loved making people feel welcome, cared for, valued. She took on part-time jobs throughout school, not just to help her family and build independence, but because she genuinely enjoyed the work, making someone's day better through a warm smile and attentive service. That was Phoenix's calling. She had dreams, like any young person does, dreams of traveling the world, of building her own life, maybe starting a family someday. The future stretched out before her, full of possibility. By the time Phoenix reached her early 20s, she'd found steady work as a waitress at local hotels and restaurants in the East Kilbride area. And she didn't just do the job, she excelled at it. Colleagues consistently described her as hardworking, reliable, and always in good spirits. She built a reputation as someone who genuinely cared about the guest experience. She remembered regular customers' names, their preferences, their stories. On social media, Phoenix shared glimpses of a life filled with joy and love, pictures with friends, moments of laughter. And yes, posts about her relationship with Ewan Methven, the man she'd met at a family party 2 years earlier. In one TikTok video, she'd written about him, "Life is so much more beautiful and full of color with you." She called him her soulmate. Phoenix believed in second chances, in seeing the best in people, in love's ability to overcome obstacles. It was one of her most beautiful qualities, this fundamental faith in human goodness. It would also become her greatest vulnerability. She kept incredibly close ties with her family, texted her mum constantly, never went long without checking in. It was just who she was. Someone who maintained connections, who valued relationships above almost everything else. Her mother, they shared laughs, made plans for the future. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed fine. November 16th, 2024. Phoenix went to work. Her colleagues remember her being in good spirits, smiling as always. She finished her shift and headed home to the flat she shared with Ewan Methven on Glen. Nothing seemed wrong. Nothing seemed different. At just 21 years old, Phoenix Spencer Horn had her entire life stretching out before her. Dreams yet to be fulfilled, places yet to be seen, love yet to be given, years and years of beautiful, brilliant life that should have been hers. Within hours, all of it would be stolen by the man she trusted most. Ewan Methven was 27 years old. He worked as a postman for Royal Mail, a job that requires trustworthiness, reliability, daily interaction with the community. By every outward measure, he appeared utterly ordinary. Normal job, normal life, no criminal record, no history of violence, nothing that would raise a single red flag. He met Phoenix at a family party, not through a dating app where identities can be obscured, not in some anonymous setting. At a family gathering, the most wholesome, traditional way a relationship can begin. And over the 2 years they were together, Ewan Methven didn't just date Phoenix. He was welcomed, fully, completely into her family circle. He became a trusted member of the Spencer family, someone they saw at holidays. Someone they made plans with. Someone they believed genuinely cared for their daughter. To Phoenix's family, he seemed dependable, caring, the kind of partner they'd want for someone they loved. They had absolutely no idea what he was capable of. The couple shared a top-floor flat on Glen in East Kilbride. To neighbors, they seemed like any other young couple building a life together. There were no police call-outs to the address, no domestic disturbances, no visible signs that anything was wrong. But beneath that veneer of normalcy, something dark was festering. November 16th, 2024. While Phoenix was at work serving customers, doing the job she loved, Ewan Methven sent her a text message. The content: her waitress shifts made him feel lonely. On the surface, it might sound like a partner missing their girlfriend. But look closer. He wasn't saying he missed her. He was making his emotional state her responsibility, making her work, her independence, her livelihood into something that hurt him. And Phoenix's response? She apologized. It's the instinct of so many people in controlling relationships: keep the peace, manage their emotions, take responsibility for things that aren't your fault. This wasn't concern, this wasn't passion, this was control disguised as need, possession masquerading as love. Investigators would later understand this possessiveness, this resentment of her independence was the prelude to violence. But in the moment, Phoenix just saw the man she loved expressing vulnerability. She had no way of knowing that within hours that same man would attack her with 3 knives in the home they shared. Judge Lord Matthews would later tell Methven in court, "You were a trusted member of her family, but you betrayed that trust and robbed her of life in the cruelest way." Even Methven's own defense lawyer, Tony Graham, would acknowledge that Phoenix's family and friends would see his client as the personification of evil. And perhaps the most haunting question in this entire case is simply this: how does someone conceal such darkness for 2 years? How does a person capable of such brutality, such depravity, such calculated cruelty manage to fool not just one person but an entire family? How do you share your life, your bed, your home with someone and never see the monster lurking beneath the surface? That's the terrifying reality of domestic violence. It doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides behind the most ordinary faces. Sometimes it wears the uniform of a postman. Sometimes it looks exactly like love until it doesn't. Construct what happened moment by moment based on evidence presented in court, witness testimony, and Methven's own statements to police. 8 p.m. Ewan Methven orders takeaway to the flat he shares with Phoenix on Glen. A delivery driver arrives at the top-floor apartment. He hands over the food, exchanges pleasantries, leaves. Later, this driver would provide crucial testimony to investigators. Ewan Methven, at 8 p.m. that evening, did not appear to be drunk or under the influence. Remember that detail. It becomes critically important. Phoenix arrives home from her waitress shift, the shift where Methven had texted her about feeling lonely. She'd apologized, as she always did. Now she's home. They're together. Everything should be fine. 9:37 p.m. Phoenix sends a text message to her mother, Alison. 3 simple words and 3 kisses. "We're eating dinner, XXX. It's casual, affectionate. The kind of message Phoenix sent dozens of times. The kind of message that says everything is normal, everything is okay, I love you, talk tomorrow. Alison Spencer has no reason to worry. Her daughter is home, safe, having dinner with her boyfriend. It's the last genuine message Alison will ever receive from her daughter. Phoenix Spencer Horn has no idea that these are her final moments of normalcy. No idea that within hours the man sitting across from her will become her killer. Around midnight. The downstairs neighbor living directly below the couple's flat hears something, a loud noise, then hurried footsteps. rapid movement, the sounds of chaos from above. Methven's fitness tracker, the kind millions of people wear to count steps and monitor activity, records a sudden dramatic spike, physical exertion, heart rate elevated, violent movement. What happens next in that top-floor flat is almost too horrific to put into words. But it must be said. Because Phoenix's story, her real story, the truth of what was done to her, demands to be told. Ewan Methven attacks Phoenix Spencer Horn with 3 separate knives. Not 1. 3. He stabs her 20 times. 10 of those stab wounds are to her face, the face that held that infectious smile her family loved so much, the face that lit up rooms, the face of a 21-year-old woman who should have had decades of life ahead of her. Other stab wounds strike her chest, her buttocks. It's a frenzied, brutal, sustained assault. The fatal wound pierces her chest, but Methven doesn't stop there. He strangles her. As if the stabbing weren't enough, he puts his hands around her throat and ensures she cannot survive. But even that isn't the end of what Methven does to Phoenix. In an act of depravity that still shocks investigators and prosecutors who've seen countless cases, Methven decapitates Phoenix Spencer Horn. He severs her head from her body. Then he attempts to dismember her, trying to remove her limbs, her torso, systematically taking apart the body of the woman who'd called him her soulmate. He would later tell police in his characteristically calm manner, "I tried to dismember her. I moved her from the bath and put her there. Phoenix's mutilated body is left in the hallway, covered with a towel. 2 blood-stained knives lie beside her. A 3rd bloodied knife sits in the bathroom waiting to be discovered. The woman who symbolized rebirth has been literally torn apart by the man she trusted most." Now here's where Methven's story begins to crumble under scrutiny. He would later claim, when he finally called 999 2 days later, that he'd experienced a psychotic break induced by cocaine, alcohol, and steroids, that he'd totally blacked out, that he couldn't remember what happened. But the evidence tells a dramatically different story. The delivery driver saw him completely sober at 8 p.m., just hours before the murder. No signs of intoxication. No signs of being under the influence of anything. And Methven's actions in the 48 hours following Phoenix's death, they don't suggest someone in a drug-induced blackout. They suggest someone fully aware, fully conscious, fully calculating, someone who knew exactly what he'd done and was desperately trying to cover it up. Sunday, November 17th, 2024. Phoenix Spencer Horn lies dead in her own home, her body mutilated, decapitated, discarded in the hallway of the flat she'd made into a home. And Ewan Methven? He carries on as if nothing has happened. He takes Phoenix's red Corsa, her car, and drives around East Kilbride. Running errands, moving through the world, a man going about his weekend while the woman he murdered decomposes mere miles away. He scrolls constantly through Phoenix's phone, and forensic analysis would later reveal exactly what he was looking at. From 8 a.m. until 6:30 p.m. on Sunday, Methven accessed pornographic websites. Not once, not a dozen times, 170 times. Let that sink in. While Phoenix's body lay in that flat, while her family waited to hear from her, while her mother expected her usual check-in texts, Ewan Methven spent over 10 hours viewing explicit content on his murdered girlfriend's phone. He also made multiple attempts to purchase cocaine, reaching out to dealers, trying to score drugs, living his life with a grotesque normalcy that defies comprehension. Next door, neighbor Tony Brown notices something odd. A bad smell seeping through the walls where the apartments connect. She'd later tell reporters, "There was a bad smell in my kitchen, basically where the walls joined together." She has no idea that just meters away her neighbor lies dead, that the smell is decomposition, that a murderer is living his life on the other side of that wall. Brown would later say, "It's horrific. It gives me shivers thinking about it." It is crazy to think I stayed next door to a monster like that. What scares me the most is knowing she was laid there and I was in here oblivious. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of these 48 hours involves Phoenix's mother. Alison Spencer waits to hear from her daughter. They text every day, multiple times. It's their routine, their connection, their normal. And she does receive texts. Messages she believes are from Phoenix. Hey, sorry, I've just woken up XXX. It's Methven, typing on Phoenix's phone, pretending to be her, maintaining the lie that his girlfriend is alive and well. He sends multiple messages over the weekend, each one a twisted performance, each one a calculated lie. Alison responds, believing she's talking to her daughter, making plans, sharing mundane details about her day. She has no reason to suspect. This is the man her family trusted, the man they'd welcomed completely. Every text is a knife to the heart, though Alison doesn't know it yet. While she believes her daughter is fine, just busy, just living her life, Phoenix's body grows colder in that hallway. These aren't the actions of someone in a drug-induced blackout. This isn't someone who can't remember what happened. This is deliberate, calculated deception. Methven knows exactly what he's done. He's buying time, delaying the inevitable, trying to figure out what to do next. His own words to police after his arrest would confirm his awareness. I guess this is what my next 25 years look like. He knew. From the very beginning, he knew exactly what he'd done, and exactly what was coming. Monday, November 18th. Around midday. After 48 hours of driving around, texting Phoenix's mother, searching for pornography, and trying to buy cocaine, Ewan Methven finally makes the call. He dials 999. His words to the operator are chilling in their casualness. I had a psychotic break and killed my wife. He claims he'd been trying to muster up the courage to phone. As if courage is what was required. As if this were some difficult but noble act. He spins his story. We were messing about. I take steroids and was taking cocaine and alcohol. I think there was something else in it. It was effing horrible. He says he totally blacked out through the thing. Can't remember what happened. When transferred to a senior police officer, Methven says simply, I just want to go to jail. Then adds, I have been out my face. I can't remember what happened. I have been driving about all weekend. Driving about all weekend. A casual admission that he's been mobile, active, conscious for 2 full days since the murder. Police officers rush to the Glen flat. They force entry, bracing for what they might find, and there in the hallway they discover Phoenix Spencer Horn's mutilated, decapitated body covered by a towel. 2 blood-stained knives lie beside her. A third waits in the bathroom. The scene confirms every horrific implication of the 999 call, and then some. Later, in his police cell, Methven makes another revealing statement. I guess this is what my next 25 years look like. The words hang in the air. Cold, detached. Almost resigned. Not shock. Not horror at what he'd done. Not grief for the life he'd stolen. Just math. Just counting the years ahead of him. As if Phoenix Spencer Horn, the woman he'd called his soulmate, the woman whose mother had trusted him, the woman he'd stabbed 20 times and decapitated, was simply the cost of doing business. The investigation was only beginning, but one thing was already crystal clear. For Ewan Methven, Phoenix's death wasn't a tragedy. It was just an inconvenience. June 17th, 2025. 7 months after Phoenix's murder, Ewan Methven appears at the High Court in Glasgow. He pleads guilty to murder and attempting to defeat the ends of justice. No trial, no defense. He admits everything, but offers no explanation that satisfies anyone. July 14th, 2025, Sentencing Day. Judge Lord Matthews calls it a dreadful crime, an appalling and horrible crime. He tells Methven directly, "You robbed her of all dignity and death by decapitating her and trying to dismember her in an attempt to defeat the ends of justice. The way you treated this innocent young woman after her death meant that her family did not even have the comfort of saying goodbye to her. Life in prison, minimum 23 years before parole consideration." The judge notes he's rarely read such outpourings of grief as in Phoenix's family's victim impact statements.
I have rarely read such outpourings of grief as are contained in the victim impact statements from her family, who have endeavoured to put into words what can never truly be encapsulated, the sadness and the deep sense of loss they all feel and will continue to feel thanks to what you did. The way you treated this innocent young woman after her death meant that her family did not even have the comfort of saying goodbye to her. I know that nothing I can say or do and no punishment I can inflict will ever be enough.
Phoenix's family was present in that courtroom. Alison Spencer, the mother who'd received those fake text messages, who'd believed her daughter was alive when she'd already been gone for days, sat and faced the man who'd destroyed their world. Their pain is immeasurable. They couldn't even say goodbye properly, couldn't hold Phoenix one last time, couldn't give her the dignified farewell every person deserves. Methven's own lawyer acknowledged that the family would see his client as the personification of evil. Methven wrote a letter to the judge. "I know how loved Phoenix was and how she made her family complete. I cannot believe I have taken her from them." But his words ring hollow. Actions speak louder than any written apology ever could. In the aftermath, a fundraising page for Phoenix's funeral costs raised thousands of pounds from a community devastated by her loss. Her family made the extraordinary decision to donate much of it to Women's Aid charity. Glasgow Women's Aid posted a powerful tribute. Her name, Phoenix, now stands for more than loss. It stands for action, for change, for refusing to let her story end in silence. Phoenix should still be here, but her legacy is one that's lifting others up. The charity vowed to use the funds to protect other women, to continue Phoenix's legacy in the way she would have wanted. Detective Chief Inspector Susie Cairns spoke for the entire investigation team. "Violence such as this is never acceptable in our communities, and we will work tirelessly to ensure those responsible are brought to justice." Phoenix Spencer Horn was just 21 years old. She had a lifetime of dreams ahead of her, places to see, love to give, memories to create. Her mother described her as the light of their family. Her friends called her an angel. And on a cold November night in 2024, in the home she shared with someone she trusted, that light was brutally extinguished. Ewan Methven took everything from Phoenix. Her life, her dignity, her future. But he couldn't take her name. Phoenix. A symbol of rising from ashes, of resilience, of rebirth. And in a way, through the work of Women's Aid and the awareness her story brings, Phoenix does rise again. Not in the way her family wanted, never in the way they wanted. But her story reminds us that domestic violence can hide behind the most ordinary facades, that trust can be weaponized, that the danger can come from the person sleeping beside you, and that we must never stop fighting to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Rest in peace, Phoenix Spencer Horn. Your name